Tonight on News Channel 21, a warning to drivers during this deadly winter season for first responders. We'll remind you about one Oregon law in effect to avoid tragedy. And a Bend man accused of targeting children online faces almost 100 charges in Deschutes County Court. Plus, a look ahead at what President Trump's impeachment trial might look like at the end of the month. Your news starts now.
Now, from Central Oregon's news leader, this is News Channel 21 at 11.
Good evening, I'm Lee Anderson. Bend Police Chief Jim Porter told city councilors tonight he'll be retiring in April after more than 35 years in law enforcement. Porter made the statement during a goals update session. He joined the Bend Police in 1991 after being with the Crook County Sheriff's Office and the Brookings Police Department. The police chief for the past 6 years, Porter says he's promoted 8 lieutenants who support the vision of a culture of public service. As he puts it, it's our DNA. A new study shows Oregon ranks 12th in the nation for the number of drunk drivers. Nationwide, there were more than 40,000 traffic deaths last year, and the month with the highest number of fatalities was July. New Mexico tops the list for most dangerous drivers. In the past 2 weeks, 7 first responders have been killed while working highway emergencies nationwide. Bend Fire and Rescue and the Bend Police are reminding you about the move over, slow down law we have here in Oregon. That law requires you to slow down and change lanes if possible to give emergency crews a wide space when they're working on an accident or disabled car. More snow is expected tonight, and Katie Zuniga has those now familiar words for us. Winter weather advisory. She joins us now with a first look at our local alert weather. Katie?
Lee, it may have only been a couple of hours that we weren't under a winter weather advisory or alert or warning for this particular portions of the Cascades in Central Oregon. You can see this area comes down along the east slopes of the Cascades, swoops around Sisters, then comes down underneath south of Bend, all the way down, includes Sun River, Lapine. It's in effect until tomorrow at 10 a.m. So this area that you see here could get 3 to 5 inches of snow. It could see some freezing rain, and it could see some blowing snow because we're anticipating winds tonight to stay upwards of 10, 15, maybe even 20 miles per hour, and then some gusts could get up to 25. So we're looking at winds right now, strongest in Warm Springs at 17 miles per hour and 15 in Madras, 11 in Bend, and we're watching these come mostly out of the south. They should die off tomorrow to about 10 miles per hour before we get too far into the day. Temperatures right now across Central Oregon are definitely warmer than we were last night. We're still in the 40s in Warm Springs, then the 30s for parts of Central Oregon, but those high 20s for Sisters and Sun River. You can see here the difference in those temperatures, how much warmer we are all across the state. Now, the major temperature change isn't anticipated, but a warmer temperature for the rest of the week is. We'll talk about that and then that chance for snow for parts of Central Oregon coming up in your complete local alert weather forecast. Lee, back to you.
A Bend man faces nearly 100 charges after allegedly posing as a teenage boy online to receive sexually explicit photos from underage girls. 41-year-old Keith Fighton allegedly used Facebook to get in contact with 16 underage girls in Central Oregon. The Deschutes County Sheriff's Office says he sent explicit photos of himself and would then request the girls to send photos back. The FBI said Fighton was also in contact with dozens of underage girls throughout the United States. Deschutes County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Jason Janes says parents should talk to their children about the dangers of social media.
Sit down and talk with them and let them know that anyone can be any person they want to be online. And unless they know them, they don't necessarily know who they're speaking with.
Fighton is due back in court next month. For more information on this story, visit our website at ktvz.com. Today, the House of Representatives took a major step in the impeachment process, formally delivering the articles of impeachment to the Senate. But as Steve Nannis reports, details of the Senate's trial are still up in the air.
The final stage of the impeachment of President Donald Trump is here.
The emphasis is making the strongest possible case to protect and defend our Constitution, to to seek the truth for the American people.
Wednesday, the House approved the 7 managers who will be tasked with presenting the case in the Senate trial. They include Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff and Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler, 2 figures who played significant roles in the House impeachment hearings.
Additional evidence continues to come to light that not only has bolstered an already overwhelming case, but has also put additional pressure, I think, on the Senate to conduct a fair trial.
That evidence includes text messages from Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, and handwritten notes from his associate, Lev Parnas, released last night by the House. It's unclear whether that new evidence will be included in the Senate trial. Now, the 2 articles of impeachment will move to the Senate. Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he expects the trial will begin on Tuesday, January 21st. However, the details of the trial, including whether witnesses will be called, are still up in the air.
House Democrats may have descended into pure factionalism, but the United States Senate must not.
And with the potentially weeks-long trial ahead, all senators, including the Democrats running for president, will be required to spend almost all of their time in Washington.
Look, some things are more important than politics. We have a constitutional duty to perform here.
In Washington, I'm Steve Nannis.
St. Charles Bend technologists kick off negotiations with hospital management this week. Workers joined a union in September, adding 163 new members to the Oregon Federation of Nurses and Health Professionals. They're hoping to improve employee conditions, staffing, and patient care through these contract talks. News Channel 21 met with the union president today, who tells us members are breaking the status quo by organizing.
It takes a lot of courage to form a union because you are standing up against people that you are typically subordinate to because they care so much about the community they serve.
Being 28 years and not in a formed union, this will be a great opportunity for us to be able to experience new ideas.
Aaron Adams, the president of St. Charles Bend and Redmond, said, quote, "We respect our caregivers' right to organize and are looking forward to productive and positive communications at the bargaining table," end quote. If you're looking to make the ultimate gesture of love on this upcoming Valentine's Day, look no further than Cupid's docket at the Deschutes County Courthouse. Circuit Court Judge Raymond Crutchley's made time on his docket that Friday to conduct weddings. They'll even dress up the courtroom a bit to make the moment memorable for interested couples. If you want to tie the knot in Bend on Valentine's Day, just call the main Circuit Court telephone number and ask for Judge Crutchley's judicial assistant. After the break, a Central Oregon community is under a boil order tonight. Plus, advisories in place at Crater Lake after winter weather has knocked out power and cell service in some areas. And later, this year's Women's March has moved locations. Details coming up. Tillamook County commissioners have given the green light to Facebook to install an undersea fiber optic cable in Tierra del Mar. The cable will stretch from Oregon to Asia. Neighbors fought the idea, saying heavy equipment and work could affect home foundations, septic systems, and groundwater. Neighbors can still appeal the decision to the State Land Use Board. President Trump signed a Phase 1 trade deal with China, putting a hold on the trade war between the 2 nations. Ray Bogan is in Washington with more.
The Trump administration says the first phase of the China trade deal will bring continued economic growth in jobs and GDP.
We never even had a deal with China. In all fairness, I don't blame China. I blame the people that stood here before me.
China has agreed to buy more than $200 billion in products from the U.S. Beijing has also agreed to stop stealing intellectual property.
It is imperative that we develop trade and economic rules and practices that allow us both to prosper.
There's also a win for China. They've been removed from the U.S. list of currency manipulators.
I hope the U.S. side will treat fairly Chinese companies and their regular trade and investment activities.
But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is critical of the agreement. He says it does not end Chinese preference of state-owned enterprises, and there's no significant commitment to end Chinese cyber theft.
President Trump's Phase 1 trade deal with China is a historic blunder. Several harmful policies and practices are reportedly unaddressed.
The Phase 1 trade deal is more of a truce
But the important issues, many of them have been deferred into the Phase 2 negotiations.
President Trump says he's leaving tariffs on Chinese goods in place until Phase 2 is complete, and they'll start negotiating that as soon as Phase 1 takes effect 30 days from now. In Washington, Ray Bogan, Fox News.
People living in Madras will vote in May on a 5% prepared food and beverage tax. City councilors voted unanimously last night to send the proposal to the ballot. The city chose that path over a gas tax or a transportation utility fee because visitors and locals will share in the cost. The money would pay for road repairs and reconstruction projects. Councilors will set language for the ballot at their January 28th meeting. Part of Crooked River Ranch is under a boil order tonight. The Crooked River Ranch Water Company called for it after a water main broke at Rim Road and Mustang. Crews tested the water this morning. They'll have the results back tomorrow afternoon. You can see if your street is affected by heading to the web version of this story at ktvz.com. The Bend Warming Shelter housed 41 guests last night. That's its highest number since it opened in December. But its future might be up in the air. The shelter is located at the north end of Bend behind the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office. However, the sheriff is undergoing construction this year and won't be able to house the warming shelter there next winter. Colleen Thomas with the Homeless Leadership Coalition says they've already started working to find a new location.
So we're reaching out to different community partners, elected officials, and individuals in the community that might know of different locations, so that we can really have, so we're not in the place that we were this past year of kind of scrambling trying to find a location.
The shelter closes for the winter season on March 15th. Well, authorities want you to stay away from Crater Lake. Heavy snow and windy conditions have knocked out telephone and internet service at the park, and the road from the park headquarters to Rim Village is also closed. High winds forced road crews plowing Highway 62 on the way to Crater Lake to leave midway through the workday today. Several trees are blocking the area, and the road's still closed at Prospect. Highway 138 is also closed from Tokatee to Highway 97. Katie Tsuniga's up next with your complete local alert weather forecast. Stay with us.
Now, Central Oregon's local alert weather with Katie Tsuniga.
The storm we've been tracking is making its impact on the Cascades. We see snow at Mount Bachelor. There's been snow at Sandy Ann Pass, and there's currently snow at Willamette Pass. Haven't seen any falling at Government Camp yet as I've been watching these cameras, and I checked all of our cameras across Central Oregon, and I haven't seen any snowfall yet, but it is likely to enter the region before we wake up tomorrow if this storm continues on the path that it is right now. We see it's mostly coming out of our south, just a little bit out of the southwest, pushing up along the coast. Here's where it's made across the Cascades. Some of that snow you saw on the lower part, probably why it hasn't quite seen the snow up yet at Government Camp. But we're anticipating this is going to push into our region here pretty soon. Now there's a large band of moisture right here. You can see it in our water vapor just going straight up the coast and along the state there. And then there's more back behind it on our east side. So right now we're in just this tiny little band of dry spot in between those two, but we believe that's going to shift. Here's where the low pressure center sat today, and it has begun to move into our northeast. And you can see this trough of low pressure deepened, which gave us warmer temperatures today because we're a little higher up and not quite as low in that trough. Now tonight into tomorrow, it continues to push off to the east, and we begin to enter this ridge of high pressure. And this is where the potential for our warmer temperatures comes before we make our way into Saturday. For tonight, we see that change in temperature possibility as we're several degrees warmer potentially overnight tonight than we were last night. And as far as La Pine, Sun River, and Sisters go, going to be quite a bit warmer. Sisters got to 0 last night. So much, much, much warmer tonight. Snow is a possibility tonight all the way into the earlier parts of tomorrow. But we see that taper off fairly early in the morning, maybe no later than 10 o'clock. And then our highs tomorrow still don't make it to the average daytime highs for this time of year, but we are going to be warmer tomorrow potentially than we were today as this system pushes through. Now that 10 o'clock time is also when the watches and mornings, this winter weather advisory expires. So we're looking in this purple area, potential of 3 to 5 inches of snow, maybe some freezing rain, and maybe even some blowing snow because we will have some winds. Tonight we could say sustained up to 20 miles an hour with gusts up to 15, or up to 25, I should say. We've seen them between 15 and 20 for most of today, so watch out for those winds overnight tonight. Our snow levels are beginning to increase as we get past Thursday into Friday, Saturday. Here's where we see the biggest chance for snow is between Wednesday into Thursday morning. Then we have a little bit of a break, and then Friday again into the evening we have another chance for snow before going into our Saturday where we see a potential of a rain-snow mix. Here's where we see that played out on our future track. So 11 o'clock tonight, this is where the potential area of snow could start to fall. Stays in that same general area till about 7 o'clock tomorrow. Then there's this little pocket of clear skies that expands overnight. And then by 11 a.m., we begin to see it break up. A little burst goes through. And then we have mostly clear skies moving into Friday. 4 a.m. is when those potential snow showers fall back along the Cascades. And then we just see chances of scattered snow showers throughout the day on Friday, and it's not really until Friday afternoon that we begin to see it calm down a little bit, and then by Friday night at 9 it goes away, and then we begin to get back to those partly cloudy skies. Saturday, if you've been waiting for some warmer temperatures, is going to be your day. We're looking at our temperatures getting back into seasonal averages. We could get to about 43 on Saturday. Then we continue to keep those averages all the way through into next week. That's been a check of your weather. Let's look at your snow report.
Your local alert weather snow report brought to you by Les Schwab Tire Centers.
We're still getting a few inches of snow in the last 24 hours at several places across the Cascades, and everybody is reporting that they're going to have some lifts open for skiing and snowboarding for the next few days and over the weekend. That's been a check of your snow report. We're back after this.
The Friends of Redmond Library are moving locations. They've been based in the Redmond Public Library for 25 years now. But this week, the Friends are holding a moving sale through Friday. All the remaining books cost $1 or less. After that, they'll move into their new location in the Redmond Bazaar building on Elm Street. Their new hours will be Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The Friends of Redmond Library say they're sad to leave after 25 years, but are excited for this new opportunity. Tonight, we want to know if you buy books. Vote and comment on our web poll on the KTVZ.com homepage. Just scroll halfway down the page, it's on the right. The annual Central Oregon Women's March is moving to Redmond. The march starts 10:30 Saturday morning at Centennial Park next to the library. This year's slogan is Reclaiming Power. The march focuses on equal rights for women, those who identify as women, and the LGBTQ community. Rodrigo Gaspar Barras says one of the reasons the march was moved from Bend to Redmond is to avoid making the tradition Bend-centric.
But we also just wanted to highlight some of the least represented sectors of our community here in Central Oregon, highlight all of the demographic changes that are taking Redmond by storm. What we keep hearing now is that the diversity there is actually growing faster than it is in Bend.
He says the march also promotes future open city council positions in Redmond and getting people registered to vote. Performances, activities, and speakers are planned in Centennial Park after the march. Oregon has some of the highest numbers of Peace Corps volunteers. There are 177 volunteers from the state. That puts Oregon 6th in the nation. Peace Corps volunteers travel around the world helping in agriculture, economic development, education, and health care. Washington, D.C. tops the list, followed by Vermont. Hoodoo Ski Area's newest race series happens under the lights. We'll tell you how to enter after the break. This 10-year-old's taking a jab at a national championship. Watch her float like a butterfly. Up next. If you're planning a trip to the High Desert Museum, listen up. Mid-Oregon Credit Union and the museum are offering 2 free admission days. You can go for free on both January 25th and February 29th. The museum's open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Forest Service is waiving fees at day use areas in Oregon and Washington on Monday in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The fee waiver includes trailheads, boat launches, and picnic areas across the state. Camping and other permit fees still apply. MLK Day was designated a federal holiday back in 1994. Hoodoo Ski Area is hosting the Friday Night Lights Race Series. Racers will try to qualify for the 2020 NASTAR Liberty Championships. There are 5 nights of racing between now and April. The first race happens Friday night from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. This is the first year Hoodoo's hosted the races. A 10-year-old boxer is vying for the Silver Gloves National Championship, and some say she has a real shot at the title. Ryan Allison reports.
Zion Hensley got hooked on boxing at 8 years old when she was playing with some old equipment in her uncle's basement. Her dad saw the interest and signed her up at Jack Lowe's Southside Boxing Club.
You know, not a big fan of a pretty little blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl coming in my gym at 9 years old and want to be a boxer, but it changed real quick.
You see, Hensley isn't your typical 10-year-old.
Yeah, no, she doesn't do anything lightly. She works hard. She runs hills at the Lake Milton Dam. You know, she runs around with logs on her shoulders. I mean, she is one of the hardest, toughest little 10-year-old girls I've ever met, and it's no joke to her.
Hensley got her first bloody nose in a recent sparring session.
The fighter hit me in the nose. It just was a good jab.
And the training paid off during her first fight in Akron.
Well, I actually was kind of nervous, but excited at the same time. But then once I got through the first round, I was excited.
And the second round didn't last long. Hensley won by TKO and easily won the rest of the state tournament. Next up is the regionals this weekend in Cleveland, and then the junior nationals in Kansas City. Lowe says she's got a real shot at winning the Silver Gloves National Championship, which would make her the #1 ranked 70-pound 10-year-old in the country.
It's still out. The jury's still out. I mean, she's 10 years old. Her dream is to go to the Olympics. Her dream is to turn pro, but she's 10 years old, so we'll see where this goes.
I'm Ryan Allison.
The audio streaming site Spotify now has playlists aimed at soothing lonely dogs. Today, Spotify announced a range of playlists curated specifically for pets. The service is also offering a new podcast intended to comfort dogs left on their own. The My Dog's Favorite Podcast was created by animal experts and features reassuring human voices, relaxing music, and ambient sounds.
I know you couldn't see the video because you were reading, but they had an iguana on the list that said choose your pet. It had a cat, a dog, an iguana.
Iguana?
Yeah, a bird. That's funny. I kind of wanted to listen to one of those just to see what they think would soothe my dog.
I'm going to, definitely.
It's interesting.
Give Spotify $10 a month. I want something for my pet.
Oh, see, I do the free version.
Oh,
no. Right. Well, we're looking at, I should say, some snow tonight, so we might wake up with a little dusting on the ground tomorrow for some higher elevations. Then a break, then more snow.
All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow.